The wedding photo still sat on the kitchen counter, glossy and perfect, showing two people who looked like they had the world at their feet. Natalie stared at them while the coffee maker gurgled in the background, her hands shaking as she held Ryan's phone. The messages were right there, bright and clear on the screen. Messages that made her stomach twist into knots and her heart feel like it was being ripped from her chest. Can't wait to see you again, baby. Being married doesn't change anything between us. She means nothing compared to what we have. The words blurred as tears filled her eyes. 2 weeks. They had been married for exactly 2 weeks, and her husband was already texting his ex-girlfriend like Natalie didn't exist. Like their wedding vows meant nothing. Like the promises he made in front of their families and friends were just empty words. Natalie's finger trembled as she scrolled up through the conversation. The messages went back months, even during their engagement. Her heart sank deeper with each line she read. They had been planning to meet up, talking about their special connection, and laughing about how Ryan had settled for someone else. I only married her because you weren't ready to commit, one message read. But we both know you're the love of my life, Rebecca. Always have been, always will be. The coffee maker beeped, but Natalie couldn't move. She stood frozen in her silk pajamas, the ones Ryan had bought her for their honeymoon, reading message after message that destroyed everything she thought she knew about her marriage. About her husband. About herself. The front door opened and she heard Ryan's voice calling out cheerfully, "Honey, I'm home. Sorry I'm late, the meeting ran over." His footsteps echoed in the hallway as he approached the kitchen. "I brought Chinese food from that place you like." Natalie quickly wiped her tears and set the phone down on the counter, her mind racing. How long had this been going on? How could she have been so blind? Every late night at the office, every business trip, every time he seemed distant, it all made sense now. "Hey beautiful," Ryan said as he walked into the kitchen, setting down bags of takeout food. He was still in his business suit, his dark hair perfectly styled, looking like the successful lawyer she had fallen in love with 3 years ago. "You look pale. Everything okay?" Natalie looked at him, really looked at him, and wondered how she had never noticed the way his eyes didn't quite meet hers when he talked. How his smile seemed forced when he said he loved her. How he always kept his phone face down and got jumpy when it buzzed. "I'm fine," she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. "Just tired." Ryan moved closer, reaching out to touch her face. "My poor baby. You've been working too hard at the gallery. Maybe you should take some time off, enjoy being a newlywed." The word newlywed felt like a slap. Natalie stepped back from his touch and Ryan's eyebrows furrowed with concern. "Nat? What's wrong? You're acting strange." She picked up his phone from the counter, and the color drained from Ryan's face. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, and she saw the exact moment when he realized what she had discovered. "I can explain," he said quickly, his hands raised like he was trying to calm a wild animal. "It's not what it looks like." "It's not what it looks like?" Natalie's voice was getting stronger now, fueled by rage that was building in her chest. "You're texting your ex-girlfriend about how I mean nothing to you. You're planning to meet up with her. You're telling her she's the love of your life. What exactly is it supposed to look like, Ryan?" "Those messages, they're old. I forgot to delete them. Rebecca and we haven't. Don't you dare lie to me." Natalie's voice echoed through the kitchen. "These messages are from yesterday. From this morning. While I was at work, thinking about how lucky I am to be married to you, you were texting another woman about how you settled for me." Ryan's face crumpled, and he sank into one of the kitchen chairs. "Natalie, please. Let me explain. It's complicated." "Complicated?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "What's complicated about cheating on your wife 2 weeks after your wedding? What's complicated about lying to my face every single day?" "I love you," Ryan said desperately. "I do love you, Nat. Rebecca is she's my past. Sometimes I get confused about my feelings, but you're my future. You're my wife. Your wife who means nothing compared to what you have with her?" Natalie quoted his own words back to him and watched him flinch. "Your wife who you only married because she wasn't ready to commit?" "I didn't mean those things. I was being stupid. Men say stupid things sometimes. It doesn't mean anything." Natalie stared at him, this man she had loved enough to promise her life to, and felt something cold and hard settle in her chest. "Get out." "What?" "Get out of my house. Right now. This is our house, Nat. We bought it together. We're married. You can't just kick me out because of some text messages." "Watch me." Natalie walked to the front door and opened it wide. "Get your things and get out. I don't want to see your face right now." Ryan followed her, his voice getting more panicked. Natalie, please. We can work through this. Every marriage has problems. We can go to counseling. We can fix this. Fix this. She turned to face him, and Ryan took a step back at the look in her eyes. You can't fix betrayal, Ryan. You can't fix lies. You can't fix the fact that you never really wanted to marry me in the first place. That's not true. I did want to marry you. I do want to be married to you. Because she wouldn't have you. The words came out like a roar. You married me because she wasn't available. I was your second choice, your backup plan. How am I supposed to fix that? Ryan's shoulders sagged. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. Natalie's voice was deadly quiet now. Get your things. Get out. Don't come back tonight. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Go to a hotel. Go to Rebecca. Go anywhere but here. Ryan looked like he wanted to argue more, but something in Natalie's expression stopped him. He went upstairs and came back down with a suitcase, moving slowly like he was hoping she would change her mind. At the door he turned back one more time. This isn't over, Nat. I'm not giving up on us. I'm not giving up on our marriage. Natalie slammed the door in his face and turned the deadbolt. Then she slid down the door until she was sitting on the floor, finally letting the tears come. She cried for the marriage that had died before it even began. She cried for the love she thought was real. She cried for the future she had planned that would never happen. But underneath the tears, something else was growing. Something that felt like steel in her backbone. Ryan thought this wasn't over? He thought he could lie and cheat and manipulate his way back into her life? He had no idea who he was dealing with. The sweet, trusting woman he had married was gone. In her place was someone who was going to make sure he regretted every single lie he had ever told her. The wedding photos still sat on the counter, but now they looked different. They looked like evidence of a crime. Evidence that Natalie was going to make sure everyone saw. 3 days had passed since Natalie kicked Ryan out, and her phone hadn't stopped buzzing. Text after text, call after call, voicemail after voicemail. Ryan was desperate, and it showed in every message he sent. Please just talk to me. I'm staying at the Holiday Inn on 5th Street. Room 237. Please come see me. I know I messed up, but we can fix this. I love you, Natalie. Only you. Natalie had read every message but hadn't responded to a single one. She was sitting in her best friend Lauren's living room, holding a cup of tea she hadn't touched, while Lauren paced back and forth like a caged tiger. I can't believe that piece of trash, Lauren said for the 100th time. 2 weeks. 2 weeks after your wedding. What kind of person does that? The kind of person who never should have gotten married, Natalie said quietly. Her voice was hoarse from crying, but she had run out of tears. Now she just felt empty and angry. You know what you need to do? You need to post those screenshots on social media. Let everyone see what kind of man he really is. Blast him on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. Natalie shook her head. I'm not ready for that yet. I need to think. Think about what? He cheated on you? With his ex. There's nothing to think about. I need to be smart about this, Lauren. Ryan is a lawyer. He knows how to manipulate situations to his advantage. If I'm going to do this, I need to do it right. Lauren stopped pacing and looked at her friend with surprise. You sound different. I feel different. Natalie finally took a sip of her tea. I feel like I've been living in a dream world for 3 years and now I'm awake. Really awake. Her phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a text, it was a call. Ryan's name flashed on the screen with the photo she had taken of him on their honeymoon. He looked so happy in the picture, so in love. It made her sick. Answer it, Lauren said. Tell him exactly what you think of him. Natalie stared at the phone until it stopped ringing. A minute later, her voicemail notification chimed. You should hear what he has to say, Lauren pressed. Know what kind of lies he's telling now. Against her better judgment, Natalie played the voicemail on speaker. Nat, please. I know you're getting my messages. I know you're ignoring me and I understand why you're angry. But we need to talk. Face to face. This is our marriage we're talking about. You can't just throw away 3 years because of a few stupid mistakes. I'm coming to the house tonight. I'll wait outside until you're ready to talk to me. I'm not giving up on us. Lauren's eyes went wide. He's coming here? What are you going to do? I'm going to talk to him, Natalie said, standing up. But not because he's giving me an ultimatum. Because I have things I need to say. I don't think that's a good idea. You're still emotional. You might say something you'll regret. No, Natalie said firmly. I'm going to say exactly what needs to be said. And I'm going to record every word of it. That evening, Natalie sat in her living room waiting. She had changed into jeans and a simple sweater. Nothing fancy, nothing that would make Ryan think she was trying to impress him. Her phone was set to record, hidden in her purse beside her chair. At exactly 7 o'clock, she heard a car pull into the driveway. Her heart started racing, but she forced herself to stay calm. She had practiced what she was going to say, and she wasn't going to let Ryan derail her with his smooth lawyer talk. The doorbell rang, followed by gentle knocking. "Nat? It's me. Please open the door." Natalie took a deep breath and opened the door. Ryan stood on her porch holding a bouquet of white roses, the same flowers he had given her when he proposed. "You look terrible." His hair was messy, his clothes were wrinkled, and there were dark circles under his eyes. "Thank you for seeing me," he said softly. "Can I come in?" Natalie stepped aside without saying a word. Ryan walked into the living room and looked around like he was seeing it for the first time. Everything was exactly the same as when he left, except for one thing. All of their wedding photos had been taken down. "You removed our pictures," he said sadly. "I removed the lies," Natalie corrected. "Sit down, Ryan. We need to talk." Ryan sat on the couch where they used to watch movies together. Natalie took the chair across from him, maintaining distance between them. "I brought you flowers," Ryan said, holding out the roses. "I don't want them." "Nat, please. I know you're hurt, but—" "Stop talking," Natalie said sharply. "You asked to talk to me, but I'm going to talk first. You're going to listen. Then you can say whatever you need to say, and then you're going to leave." Ryan's mouth snapped shut. He looked surprised by the authority in her voice. "I read all of the messages, Ryan. All of them. Going back months. I know this wasn't just a few stupid mistakes. This was a relationship. An emotional affair that was probably physical too, though I'm sure you'll deny that." "It wasn't physical," Ryan said quickly. "I swear to you we never—" "I said don't talk." Natalie's voice was ice cold. "I don't believe you anyway. You've been lying to me for months, so why would you start telling the truth now?" Ryan looked like he had been slapped. "I know that you never really wanted to marry me," Natalie continued. "I know that I was your second choice. I know that you think I'm boring and predictable and not as exciting as Rebecca. I know that you told her you settled for me. Those were just words, Nat. They didn't mean anything. They meant everything." Natalie's composure cracked for a moment. "They meant that our entire relationship was built on a lie. They meant that when you stood in front of our families and friends and promised to love me and be faithful to me, you already knew you were going to break those promises." Ryan started to speak, but Natalie held up her hand. "I also know that you think you can manipulate me into taking you back. You think if you just say the right words, bring the right flowers, make the right promises, I'll forgive you and we can go back to the way things were. But here's what you don't understand, Ryan. There is no going back. The woman you married doesn't exist anymore." "What do you mean?" "I mean that woman was naive. She was trusting. She believed that when someone said they loved her, they actually meant it. She believed that marriage meant something. She believed that her husband would never deliberately hurt her. That woman is gone." Ryan's face was pale. "Nat, you're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared. Because the woman sitting in front of you now sees you exactly for what you are. A liar. A cheater. A manipulator who thinks he can charm his way out of any situation." "I love you," Ryan said desperately. "I know I made mistakes, but I love you. Only you." "You love the idea of me," Natalie said. "You love having a wife who doesn't ask questions when you work late. You love having someone who takes care of you and makes your life easier. You love having a backup plan in case things don't work out with other women. But you don't love me. You don't even know me." "That's not true." "It is true. If you knew me, you would know that I'm not the kind of woman who forgives cheating. If you knew me, you would know that I value honesty above everything else. If you knew me, you would know that once my trust is broken, it can never be repaired." Ryan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was small. "So what are you saying? You want a divorce?" "I'm saying that our marriage is over. It was over the moment you decided to betray me. But we can work through this. Couples do it all the time. We can go to therapy, we can—" "No." Natalie's voice was final. "We can't work through this because there's no we anymore. There's just you dealing with the consequences of your choices." Ryan's desperation was showing now. "Please, Nat. I'll do anything. I'll cut off all contact with Rebecca. I'll change jobs. I'll move to another city. Whatever you want. I want you to leave. I'll fight for you. I'll prove that I can be the man you deserve. The man I deserve would never have cheated on me in the first place." Natalie stood up. "This conversation is over." "Wait," Ryan jumped up and grabbed her arm. You can't just throw away our marriage like this. We took vows. You threw away our marriage when you started texting your ex-girlfriend, Natalie said, pulling her arm free. And don't ever grab me again. Ryan looked shocked by her tone. I'm sorry. I'm desperate. I can't lose you. You already lost me. You lost me the moment you sent that first message to her. You just didn't realize it yet. What about everything we built together? This house, our plans, our future. What about it? You didn't care about any of that when you were telling another woman she was the love of your life. Ryan sank back onto the couch, his head in his hands. I was confused. I was having cold feet about the marriage. It happens to everyone. Cold feet happen before the wedding, Ryan. Not after. And they don't involve having emotional affairs with ex-girlfriends. I ended it, Ryan said suddenly, looking up at her. I ended things with Rebecca. I told her I couldn't talk to her anymore because I wanted to focus on my marriage. Natalie stared at him. When? Yesterday. I told her it was over between us. You told her it was over yesterday? After I found out about it? How convenient. I know how it looks, but I mean it. I chose you, Nat. I choose you. You chose me yesterday. After 3 months of telling her she was the love of your life. After our wedding. After our honeymoon. After I found out about your lies. That's not choosing me, Ryan. That's damage control. Ryan looked defeated. What do you want me to do? How do I fix this? You can't fix this. That's what I've been trying to tell you. Natalie walked to the front door and opened it. It's time for you to go. I'm not signing divorce papers, Ryan said as he stood up. I won't make it easy for you to throw away our marriage. That's your choice, Natalie said calmly. But the marriage is over either way. The only question is whether you want to make this harder on both of us than it needs to be. I want to fight for us. There is no us to fight for. Ryan walked to the door, then turned back one more time. I know you still love me, Nat. I can see it in your eyes. Don't let pride destroy something we can rebuild. What you see in my eyes isn't love anymore, Ryan. It's pity. I feel sorry for you because you're so delusional that you actually think you can manipulate me into taking you back. But mostly, I feel sorry for myself for wasting 3 years of my life on someone who never deserved me. After Ryan left, Natalie locked the door and leaned against it, her heart pounding. She had done it. She had stood up to him, spoken her truth, and hadn't let him manipulate her. For the first time in days, she felt proud of herself. She pulled out her phone and stopped the recording. Every word of their conversation was captured. She had a feeling she was going to need it. The days following the confrontation blurred together in a haze of phone calls, legal consultations, and well-meaning friends who didn't know what to say. Natalie had taken a week off work, telling her boss at the art gallery that she had a family emergency. It wasn't exactly a lie. Her marriage falling apart felt like an emergency. She was sitting at her kitchen table, surrounded by legal documents and a half-eaten sandwich, when her phone rang. The caller ID showed her mother's name, and Natalie's stomach dropped. She hadn't told her parents about the separation yet, and she wasn't ready for that conversation. Hi, Mom, she answered, trying to sound normal. Sweetheart. How are you? How's married life treating you? The innocent question hit Natalie like a punch to the gut. It's complicated, Mom. Complicated? What do you mean? You've only been married 3 weeks. Natalie closed her eyes. Mom, I need to tell you something. Ryan and I are separated. The silence on the other end of the line stretched so long that Natalie wondered if the call had dropped. Separated? Her mother finally said. What do you mean separated? What happened? He was having an affair with his ex-girlfriend. I found out a few days ago. Oh, honey. Her mother's voice was full of sympathy and shock. Oh, my sweet girl. I'm so sorry. I asked him to leave and I've filed for divorce. Divorce? Already? Sweetheart, maybe you should slow down and think about this. Sometimes men make mistakes. Mom, please don't. Natalie's voice was firm. This isn't a mistake. This was a choice he made repeatedly for months. I'm not changing my mind. But you just got married. All those people at the wedding, all that money spent. The money doesn't matter. The people will understand. And if they don't, that's their problem. Her mother sighed. Your father and I love you and will support whatever decision you make. But marriage is hard work, honey. It takes commitment from both people. It takes honesty too, Mom. And faithfulness. Ryan wasn't capable of either. After they hung up, Natalie felt drained. The conversation had gone better than expected, but she knew there would be many more difficult conversations ahead. Friends asking questions, family members taking sides, co-workers whispering in the break room. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lauren. "How are you holding up? Want me to come over?" Before Natalie could respond, another text came through, this one from an unknown number. "Hi Natalie, this is Rebecca. I think we should talk." Natalie stared at the message, her heart racing. Rebecca. The other woman. The love of Ryan's life, according to him. What could she possibly want to talk about? She screenshot the message and immediately forwarded it to Lauren with a message. SOS. Come over now. 20 minutes later, Lauren was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at Natalie's phone in disbelief. "She has some nerve," Lauren said. "What do you think she wants?" "I have no idea. Maybe she wants to apologize? Maybe she wants to explain her side of the story? Maybe she wants to rub it in your face that she got your husband back." The thought made Natalie's stomach turn. Ryan said he ended things with her. And you believed him? "I don't know what to believe anymore." Natalie took the phone back and stared at the message. "Part of me wants to know what she has to say." "That's a terrible idea." "Is it? Maybe I need to hear it. Maybe I need to know the whole truth." "You know the truth. Ryan cheated on you. That's all you need to know." Natalie's phone buzzed again. Another message from Rebecca. "I know you probably hate me, but there are things you should know about Ryan. Things that might help you." "Help me with what?" Lauren scoffed. "Getting over the fact that she stole your husband?" "I don't think she stole him," Natalie said slowly. "I think he was never really mine to begin with." The phone buzzed a third time. "I know this is weird, but I've been where you are. Ryan did the same thing to me. Can we meet for coffee? I promise I'm not trying to cause more drama." Natalie looked up at Lauren. "She says Ryan did the same thing to her." "Of course she's going to say that. She's trying to make herself look like the victim instead of the homewrecker. But what if she's telling the truth? What if there's a pattern here that I don't know about?" Lauren reached across the table and took Natalie's hands. "Honey, I know you're looking for answers, but meeting with the other woman isn't going to give you closure. It's going to mess with your head and make everything worse." "I need to know," Natalie said quietly. "I need to understand what kind of man I married. What kind of man I loved for 3 years. You already know what kind of man he is. He's the kind who cheats on his wife 2 weeks after the wedding." "But why? Why would he marry me if he was in love with someone else? Why would he go through with the wedding, the honeymoon, all of it, if he never really wanted to be with me?" "Because he's selfish and he's a coward," Lauren said simply. "Some people are just broken, Nat. They hurt people because they can, not because they have some deep, complicated reason." Natalie stared at her phone, reading Rebecca's messages over and over. Despite Lauren's advice, she found herself typing a response. "When and where?" "Don't send that," Lauren said, seeing what she was typing. But Natalie had already hit send. A few minutes later, Rebecca responded, "Tomorrow at 2 p.m.? The coffee shop on Market Street, the one next to the bookstore?" "I know that place," Natalie said. "It's public, neutral territory. If she tries anything crazy, there will be witnesses." "This is a bad idea," Lauren repeated. "Maybe. But I'm doing it anyway." That night, Natalie lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering what Rebecca could possibly tell her that would help. Part of her hoped the woman would reveal something that would make Ryan's betrayal make sense, that would give her some kind of closure. But another part of her was terrified that Rebecca would confirm her worst fears, that Ryan had never loved her at all, that their entire relationship had been a lie. She thought about the woman she had been just a few weeks ago. That woman had been planning to redecorate the guest bedroom as a nursery. She had been researching vacation destinations for their first anniversary. She had been blissfully, stupidly happy. Now she was lying alone in a bed that still smelled like Ryan's cologne, preparing to meet the woman who had helped destroy her marriage. The transformation felt surreal, like she was living someone else's life. But as she finally drifted off to sleep, Natalie realized something important. The woman planning nurseries and anniversary trips had been weak. She had been dependent on Ryan for her happiness, willing to overlook red flags and warning signs because she was afraid of being alone. The woman meeting Rebecca tomorrow was different. She was stronger, more sure of herself, more willing to face uncomfortable truths. Maybe this wasn't the life she had planned, but it was the life she was living now, and she was going to live it on her own terms. Ryan had taken a lot from her, her trust, her marriage, her vision of the future. But he hadn't taken her strength. In fact, his betrayal had revealed a strength she didn't know she possessed. Whatever Rebecca had to tell her, she could handle it. Whatever came next, she would face it head on. For the first time since finding those messages, Natalie felt a spark of something that wasn't pain or anger. It felt like hope. Not hope for reconciliation with Ryan, but hope for herself. Hope that she could build something better from the ashes of her broken marriage. Hope that the best part of her life was still ahead of her, not behind her. The thought scared her, but it also excited her. She was 28 years old, successful, intelligent, and strong. She had been those things before Ryan, and she would be those things after him. Maybe this wasn't the end of her story. Maybe it was just the end of the first chapter. The coffee shop was crowded with the usual afternoon crowd of students and remote workers. Natalie arrived 15 minutes early, choosing a table in the back corner where she could see the entrance but still have some privacy. She ordered a latte she didn't want and checked her phone nervously, second-guessing her decision to come. At exactly 2 p.m., a petite blonde woman walked through the door, scanning the room uncertainly. She was pretty in a delicate way, with big blue eyes and the kind of porcelain skin that Natalie had always envied. This was Rebecca, the woman Ryan had called the love of his life. Natalie raised her hand slightly, and Rebecca walked over, looking as nervous as Natalie felt. "Natalie?" Rebecca's voice was soft, almost apologetic. "Thank you for meeting me. I wasn't sure you would come." "I almost didn't," Natalie admitted as Rebecca sat down across from her. "I'm not sure why I'm here." "I know this is awkward," Rebecca said, fidgeting with her purse strap. "I know you probably hate me and you have every right to. But I had to talk to you." Natalie studied the woman across from her. Rebecca looked tired and sad, not like someone who had just won back the love of her life. "Ryan said he ended things with you." "He did." Rebecca's voice was barely above a whisper. "But not because he wanted to. Because I told him to." "I don't understand." Rebecca took a deep breath. "I need to tell you something about Ryan. Something I should have told you a long time ago, but I was too much of a coward." "What are you talking about?" "Ryan and I were married," Rebecca said quietly. 5 years ago. For 2 years. Natalie felt like the air had been sucked out of her lungs. "Married?" "Ryan told me you were just his girlfriend in college. We were college sweethearts, but we got married right after graduation. I was 22, he was 23. We thought we were so in love, so ready to take on the world together." "Why didn't he tell me you were married?" "Because of how it ended." Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. "Because he cheated on me too. Multiple times. With multiple women." The room seemed to spin around Natalie. "What?" "The first time I caught him texting his study partner from law school. Sexual messages, making plans to meet up. When I confronted him, he said it was just flirting, that it didn't mean anything. He begged me to forgive him, said he would never do it again." Natalie's hands were shaking. "But he did do it again." 6 months later, it was his secretary at the law firm where he was interning. Then it was a woman from his gym. Then it was a girl from his hometown who was visiting for the weekend. Every time he had an excuse. Every time he begged for forgiveness. Every time I took him back because I loved him and I believed he could change. How many times? I stopped counting after 8. Rebecca wiped her eyes with a napkin. "The last time I found him in our bed with a paralegal from his office. That's when I finally left him." Natalie felt sick. "When did you get divorced?" 3 years ago. Right around the time he started dating you. So when he was telling me about his heartbreak over losing you, he was lying about that too." "Ryan doesn't know how to tell the truth," Rebecca said sadly. "He tells people what they want to hear, what will get him what he wants. He told you I was just a college girlfriend because it made him look like the victim of a broken heart instead of a serial cheater. But you were texting him during my marriage. You were planning to meet up with him." Rebecca's face flushed with shame. "I know. I know how that looks and I know it was wrong. But you have to understand, Ryan never stopped contacting me. Even after our divorce was final, even when he started dating you, he would reach out every few months, telling me he missed me, that he made a mistake, that he wanted to try again." "And you responded?" "Sometimes. I was lonely, and despite everything he put me through, part of me still cared about him. I know that makes me weak, but I can't change it." Natalie leaned back in her chair, trying to process everything she was hearing. "So when he was dating me, he was still trying to get back together with you?" "Yes. And when he got engaged to you, he told me he was making a mistake. He said he was only marrying you because I had rejected him so many times, but that his heart would always belong to me." The words hit Natalie like physical blows. "He said that. I should have told you then. I should have found a way to warn you. But I didn't know you, and I thought maybe he really had changed. Maybe he really did love you and was just having cold feet. But he didn't change. No. After your wedding, the messages got more intense. He was telling me he had made the biggest mistake of his life. He was begging me to give him another chance, saying he would leave you if I would take him back. Natalie felt tears burning her eyes. And what did you say? At first I was tempted. I won't lie to you. There was a part of me that wanted to believe he had finally realized what he lost. But then I remembered all the other women. I remembered finding him in our bed with someone else. I remembered all the lies, all the manipulation, all the times he made me feel like I was crazy for not trusting him. So you told him no? I told him that he was married now and he needed to commit to his marriage. I told him that if he really loved you, he would stop contacting me and focus on being a good husband. And I told him that if he didn't love you, he should be honest with you instead of stringing you along. But he kept messaging you anyway. Rebecca nodded. He wouldn't stop. He kept saying that you didn't understand him the way I did, that you were too different from him, that he felt trapped in the marriage. Too different how? He said you were too serious, too focused on your career. He said you didn't like the same things he liked, that you didn't laugh at his jokes. He said you were a good person, but that good wasn't enough for him. Each word felt like a knife twisting in Natalie's chest. She had always worried that she wasn't fun enough for Ryan, wasn't spontaneous enough. She had tried so hard to be the woman he wanted, never realizing that he didn't want her at all. When did you finally tell him to stop? The day before you found those messages. I sent him a long text telling him that what he was doing to you was cruel and unfair. I told him that he was the same selfish person he had always been, and that I never wanted to hear from him again. Is that why he told me he had ended things with you? Probably. He couldn't admit that I was the one who cut contact. That would have made him look like the rejected one instead of the one making a noble sacrifice for his marriage. Natalie stared into her untouched latte, trying to make sense of everything. Why are you telling me all this? What do you want from me? I want you to know the truth about who you married. And I want you to know that none of this is your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. This is who Ryan is. This is what he does. But why do you care? We don't know each other. Rebecca was quiet for a long moment. Because I know what it's like to love someone who can't love you back the way you deserve. I know what it's like to blame yourself for their cheating, to wonder if you could have been prettier or funnier or more exciting. I know what it's like to think that if you just try harder, you can fix them. And you can't. No. You can't fix someone who doesn't think they're broken. Ryan doesn't think he's doing anything wrong. He thinks he's just a man with needs and desires, and that it's everyone else's job to understand and forgive him. Natalie looked up at Rebecca, seeing her clearly for the first time. This wasn't the other woman, the home wrecker, the villain of her story. This was another victim of Ryan's selfishness and lies. I'm sorry, Natalie said quietly. I'm sorry he put you through all of that. I'm sorry he's putting you through it now. But you're stronger than I was. You kicked him out after 3 days. It took me 2 years and finding him with another woman to finally leave. I don't feel strong. I feel stupid for not seeing the signs. What signs? Ryan is a master manipulator. He knows exactly what to say and do to make people trust him. That's not your fault, that's his talent. They sat in silence for a few minutes, two women who had loved the same man and been betrayed by him in similar ways. What do you think I should do? Natalie finally asked. Run, Rebecca said without hesitation. Run as fast and as far as you can. Don't look back. Don't give him another chance. Don't believe him when he says he's changed. He hasn't and he won't. He says he's not going to sign divorce papers. He wants to fight for the marriage. Rebecca laughed bitterly. He said the same thing to me. He dragged our divorce out for 8 months, hoping I would change my mind. He made it as difficult and expensive as possible, thinking it would force me to give up and take him back. Did it work? For a while I considered it. The legal fees were eating up my savings, and he kept showing up at my apartment with flowers and apologies. But then I remembered why I left in the first place. I remembered that I deserved better than a man who would only be faithful to me when he got caught cheating. How did you finally get him to sign? Rebecca smiled for the first time since she'd sat down. I threatened to tell his law firm partners about his affairs. About how he was sleeping with employees and creating a hostile work environment. About how he was using company resources to conduct his personal relationships. And that worked. Ryan's career is the only thing he truly cares about. Once I threatened that, he signed the papers within a week. Natalie felt something click into place in her mind. He's still at the same firm? Yes. Morrison, Burke & Associates. He made partner last year. And he's still the same person he was when you were married to him? Leopards don't change their spots, Natalie. If anything, success has made him worse. He thinks he's untouchable now. As they parted ways outside the coffee shop, Rebecca gave Natalie her phone number. If you need someone to talk to, someone who understands what you're going through, call me. I know this is weird, but I think we could help each other. Natalie drove home in a daze, her mind reeling from everything she had learned. Ryan wasn't just a cheater, he was a serial cheater with a pattern of behavior that went back years. She wasn't his first victim, and if she took him back, she wouldn't be his last. But more than that, she now understood something crucial about her husband. He was a coward who would only change his behavior when faced with consequences that truly mattered to him. Threatening his marriage hadn't been enough. Threatening his reputation might be. For the first time since finding those messages, Natalie smiled. Rebecca had given her more than just information. She had given her a roadmap. Ryan thought he could manipulate his way out of this situation, just like he had manipulated his way out of every other problem in his life. But Natalie wasn't the same naive woman who had married him 3 weeks ago. And unlike Rebecca, she wasn't going to let him drag this out for months while he tried to wear her down. Ryan wanted to fight for their marriage? Fine. But he had no idea what kind of fight he was about to get. 2 weeks had passed since Natalie's meeting with Rebecca, and she had used every day to prepare for the battle ahead. She had hired the best divorce attorney in the city, a sharp woman named Patricia Wells who had a reputation for taking down cheating husbands. She had opened her own bank account and moved half of their joint savings into it. She had changed the locks on the house and installed a security system. Most importantly, she had started documenting everything. Natalie sat at her dining room table, which had been transformed into a command center. Printed emails, text message screenshots, and bank statements were organized in neat piles. She had a timeline of Ryan's affair with Rebecca, a list of his lies and contradictions, and copies of every desperate message he had sent since she kicked him out. The latest message had come that morning. Nat, it's been 2 weeks. This silent treatment has gone on long enough. I know you're angry, but we're married. We need to act like adults and work through this. I'm coming by the house tonight so we can talk face to face. Natalie had responded with a single line, if you come to my house, I will call the police. Her phone rang and she saw Ryan's name on the screen. She let it go to voicemail as she had been doing for days. A minute later she played the message back. What do you mean you'll call the police? I'm your husband. I have a right to come to my own house. Natalie, this is getting ridiculous. You can't just shut me out forever. We need to talk. Call me back. Natalie saved the voicemail and added it to her documentation file. Ryan's messages were becoming more aggressive and demanding, which was exactly what Patricia had predicted would happen. Men like your husband are used to getting their way through charm and manipulation, Patricia had explained during their first meeting. When that doesn't work, they escalate. They get angry, they make demands, they try to intimidate. It's all part of the same controlling behavior. So I should keep refusing to talk to him? Absolutely. Every conversation gives him an opportunity to manipulate you. Every time you engage with him, you're giving him hope that he can talk his way back into your life. The best thing you can do is maintain complete silence and let me handle all communication through legal channels. It had been good advice. Without Natalie responding to his messages, Ryan was becoming increasingly frustrated and desperate. His true colors were starting to show, and she was documenting every ugly moment. Her doorbell rang, and Natalie looked out the window to see Lauren standing on her porch with a bottle of wine and a bag of takeout food. I brought reinforcements, Lauren announced when Natalie opened the door. Thai food and alcohol. The cure for all of life's problems. They sat on the couch eating pad thai and drinking wine while Natalie filled Lauren in on the latest developments in her case. I can't believe he was married before and never told you, Lauren said, shaking her head. What else do you think he's been lying about? Probably everything, Natalie said. I've been going through our bank statements and there are charges I don't recognize. Expensive dinners at restaurants we never went to together. Hotel rooms when he was supposedly working late. Jewelry purchases that I never received. He was buying jewelry for other women? That's what it looks like. There's a charge for a diamond bracelet from Tiffany's last month. For $1,500. I never got any bracelet. Oh my God. How many women do you think there were? I don't know, but I'm starting to think Rebecca and I weren't the only ones. Patricia is having a private investigator look into his activities over the past few years. Lauren poured them both more wine. How are you holding up with all of this? You seem different. Stronger. I feel stronger. I know that sounds weird, considering my marriage just imploded, but I feel more like myself than I have in years. What do you mean? Natalie thought about how to explain it. When I was with Ryan, I was always trying to be the woman he wanted me to be. I was quieter, more agreeable. I let him make decisions about where we went, what we did, who we spent time with. I was so afraid of losing him that I lost myself. And now I remember who I was before him. I remember that I'm smart and capable and strong. I remember that I don't need someone else to complete me. I'm proud of you, Lauren said, reaching over to squeeze her hand. The old Natalie would have taken him back by now. She would have convinced herself that she could change him. The old Natalie was a fool, Natalie said with a bitter laugh. She believed everything he told her. She made excuses for his behavior. She thought love was supposed to be hard work. And now you know better? Now I know that real love isn't hard work. Real love is easy. It's honest and faithful and kind. What I had with Ryan wasn't love, it was addiction. I was addicted to the highs and lows, the drama, the constant uncertainty about where I stood with him. They were interrupted by Natalie's phone buzzing with a text message. She glanced at it and her stomach dropped. It's from Ryan, she told Lauren. He's outside. What? I thought you told him not to come here. I did. Natalie looked out the window and saw Ryan's car parked in her driveway. I specifically told him I would call the police if he came to the house. So call the police. Natalie hesitated. Maybe I should just talk to him. Get it over with. No, Lauren said firmly. That's exactly what he wants. He's testing you, seeing if you'll follow through on your boundaries. If you give in now, he'll know he can wear you down. The doorbell rang, followed by loud knocking. Natalie, I know you're in there. I can see the lights on. Open the door. He sounds angry, Lauren whispered. The knocking got louder. I'm not leaving until we talk. I'll stay out here all night if I have to. Natalie pulled out her phone and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? I need police to come to my house. My estranged husband is here against my wishes and won't leave. The operator took her address and told her officers would be there within 10 minutes. While they waited, Ryan continued pounding on the door and shouting. This is ridiculous, Natalie. I'm your husband. We're supposed to work through problems together, not run away from them. You know what's ridiculous? Natalie called back through the door. Cheating on your wife and then acting like she's the one being unreasonable. I made a mistake. I admitted that. But you won't even give me a chance to make it right. I gave you a chance to make it right when I married you. You chose to throw it away. One mistake doesn't erase 3 years together. It wasn't one mistake, Ryan. It was months of lies and betrayal. The arguing continued until police sirens could be heard approaching. The knocking stopped, and Natalie heard Ryan's voice getting farther away from the door. 2 officers came to the front door while a third talked to Ryan in the driveway. Natalie explained the situation, that they were separated, that she had asked him not to come to the house, that he had refused to leave when asked. Has he threatened you or made you feel unsafe? One of the officers asked. Not directly, but his behavior is escalating. He's been sending increasingly aggressive messages, and now he's showing up at my house uninvited. I'm worried about what he might do next. The officer who had been talking to Ryan came to the door. We've asked him to leave and he's agreed to go. But you might want to consider getting a restraining order if his behavior continues. I'm working with my attorney on that, Natalie said. After the police left, Natalie and Lauren sat back down on the couch, both shaken by the confrontation. I can't believe he did that, Lauren said. Coming here after you specifically told him not to. I can believe it. This is who he really is when he doesn't get his way. All that charm and smooth talking disappears, and you see the controlling, entitled man underneath. Are you okay? Actually, yes. I'm better than okay. Natalie felt a surge of pride and empowerment. I set a boundary and I enforced it. I didn't let him manipulate me into talking to him. I didn't back down. You called the police on your own husband. I called the police on a man who was harassing me and refusing to respect my wishes. The fact that he happens to be my husband just makes it more pathetic, not less serious. Lauren raised her wine glass. To the new Natalie. The one who doesn't take crap from anyone. To the new Natalie, she agreed, clinking glasses. The one who's going to make sure Ryan regrets every lie he ever told. As Lauren left that night, she turned back at the door. You know, I was worried about you when this all started. I thought you might fall apart. But you're handling this better than anyone could have expected. I'm handling it better than I expected, Natalie admitted. I think I needed this wake-up call. I needed to remember who I am when I'm not trying to please someone else. After Lauren left, Natalie stood in her living room looking around at the house she had shared with Ryan. It felt different now, lighter, more peaceful. The tension that had always existed when he was around was gone. She hadn't realized how much she had been walking on eggshells until she didn't have to anymore. Her phone buzzed with another message from Ryan. "I can't believe you called the police on me. After everything we've been through together, that's how you treat me? You've changed, Natalie. You're not the woman I married." She typed back, "You're right. I'm not the woman you married. I'm better." Then she blocked his number. It was time to stop letting him have any access to her emotional space. From now on, all communication would go through attorneys. Ryan was about to learn that the sweet, accommodating woman he had married was gone. In her place was someone who knew her worth and wouldn't settle for anything less than she deserved. And what she deserved was so much better than Ryan could ever give her. Patricia Wells' law office was located on the top floor of a downtown high-rise, with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a commanding view of the city. Natalie sat across from Patricia's mahogany desk, feeling more confident than she had in weeks. She was wearing her best business suit, navy blue with sharp lines that made her feel powerful and professional. "I've reviewed all the documentation you provided," Patricia said, spreading out folders across her desk. "You've done excellent work gathering evidence. This gives us a very strong position." "What kind of position?" "The kind where your husband's attorney is going to advise him to settle quickly and quietly. The evidence of his infidelity is overwhelming, and the financial records show a clear pattern of marital misconduct." Patricia opened one of the folders and pulled out a thick stack of papers. "The private investigator's report came back yesterday. Ryan's activities over the past year are quite extensive." Natalie's heart raced. What did they find? 3 different women, not including Rebecca. Hotel charges that correspond with credit card records from florists, jewelry stores, and expensive restaurants. He was essentially living a double life, financing multiple relationships with marital assets. 3 women? Natalie felt sick. Dr. Sarah Chin, a cardiologist at City General Hospital. Maria Santos, a paralegal at a competing law firm. And Jennifer Walsh, a real estate agent who helped him look at properties for what he told her was an investment opportunity. Investment properties? We never talked about buying investment properties. According to the investigator's report, he was telling Jennifer that he was getting divorced and looking for a place for his fresh start. He was essentially shopping for a post-divorce bachelor pad while still married to you. Natalie shook her head in disbelief. How did I not know any of this? Men like Ryan compartmentalize very well. They're skilled at keeping different parts of their lives separate. But the digital trail doesn't lie. Phone records, credit card statements, hotel reservations. It's all documented. Patricia pulled out another folder. Now let's talk about strategy. Ryan's attorney filed a response to our divorce petition yesterday. What does it say? He's contesting the divorce on grounds of irreconcilable differences and asking for a trial separation instead of immediate dissolution. He's also requesting spousal support and claiming that he's entitled to half of your assets. Spousal support? He makes twice as much money as I do. It's a stalling tactic. He's hoping that if he makes this process difficult and expensive enough, you'll give up and take him back. It's a common strategy for controlling personalities. So what do we do? Patricia smiled, and there was something predatory in her expression. We give him exactly what he's asking for, a fight. But we fight dirty and we fight to win. She opened a third folder. Here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to file a motion for temporary exclusive possession of the marital home. You need to feel safe in your own house, and his recent harassment gives us grounds. He'll fight that. Let him. Every time he fights something reasonable, it makes him look more unreasonable to the judge. Second, we're going to file a motion to freeze all joint assets pending the outcome of the divorce. Can we do that? Given the evidence of his financial misconduct, using marital funds to support extramarital relationships, absolutely. Third, we're going to depose all of his girlfriends. Natalie's eyes widened. Depose them? Under oath on the record. We're going to ask them detailed questions about their relationships with Ryan, about what he told them about his marriage, about any gifts or financial support he provided. It's going to be humiliating for him. Will they cooperate? Most people don't want to be involved in messy divorce proceedings. Once they realize they're going to be dragged into court and asked embarrassing questions under oath, they tend to disappear from his life very quickly. And if they don't? Then we get their testimony on record, which only strengthens our case. Either way, we win. Patricia leaned back in her chair. But here's the key to our strategy. We're not just fighting for a divorce, we're fighting to expose Ryan's pattern of behavior. By the time we're done, Everyone in his professional and personal life will know exactly what kind of man he is. Won't that hurt me too? People knowing all the details? People already know your husband cheated on you. That's not a secret you can keep in a small legal community. But right now, some people might be thinking it was just a mistake, a moment of weakness. By the time we present all the evidence, no one will have any doubt that this was systematic, calculated behavior by a serial cheater. Natalie felt a surge of excitement mixed with nervousness. How long will all of this take? If Ryan wants to fight, it could take 6 to 8 months. But my guess is that once he sees what we have on him, and once his attorney explains how bad this is going to look in court, he'll change his tune. What if he doesn't? Then we destroy him in court. We put every affair, every lie, every financial transaction on the public record. We call character witnesses who can testify to his pattern of behavior. We make this so painful for him that he'll wish he had just signed the papers quietly. As Natalie left Patricia's office, she felt like she was walking on air. For the first time since this nightmare began, she felt like she had the upper hand. Ryan had been counting on her to be the same passive, accommodating woman she had always been. He was about to learn just how wrong he was. Her phone rang as she was walking to her car. It was an unknown number, but she answered anyway. Natalie? This is James Morrison from Morrison, Burke & Associates. I'm one of the senior partners at Ryan's firm. Natalie's heart started racing. Yes. I was wondering if we could meet for coffee this afternoon. There are some things about your situation with Ryan that I think you should know. What kind of things? The kind that are better discussed in person. Can you meet me at the Starbucks on 5th Street in an hour? Natalie's mind was spinning. Why would one of Ryan's bosses want to meet with her? Mr. Morrison, I'm not sure that's appropriate. I'm in the middle of divorce proceedings with your employee. That's exactly why we need to talk. Trust me, Mrs. Coleman, this conversation will be in your best interest. An hour later, Natalie sat across from James Morrison, a distinguished man in his 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes. He looked uncomfortable, like he was about to do something he didn't want to do. Thank you for coming, he said. I want you to know that this conversation is completely off the record and confidential. Okay. I understand that you're divorcing Ryan due to infidelity. That's correct. Morrison sighed heavily. Mrs. Coleman, I need you to know that Ryan's behavior has not gone unnoticed at our firm. We've had complaints. What kind of complaints? Sexual harassment complaints from female employees. Inappropriate behavior with clients. Misuse of company resources for personal activities. Natalie's mouth fell open. How many complaints? 3 formal complaints in the past 2 years. We've been documenting everything, building a case for termination. Then why haven't you fired him? Because Ryan is very good at his job, he brings in significant revenue for the firm, and he's been very careful to stay just shy of behavior that would give us cause for immediate termination. But it's been an ongoing problem. So why are you telling me this? Morrison leaned forward. Because if this divorce goes to trial and all of Ryan's personal conduct becomes public record, it's going to reflect poorly on our firm. We're going to have to take action to protect our reputation. What kind of action? We're going to fire him. And we're going to make it clear that his termination was due to a pattern of inappropriate behavior that we can no longer overlook. Natalie stared at him. You're asking me to keep quiet about his affairs to protect his job? No, Morrison said quickly. I'm telling you that regardless of what you do, Ryan's employment with our firm is coming to an end. But if you're looking for leverage in your divorce proceedings, you should know that his income stream is about to disappear. How soon? If this goes to trial and becomes public within days of the first news article. If you settle quietly, we might be able to arrange for him to resign with some dignity intact. Natalie left the meeting with her head spinning. Ryan's career, the thing he cared about most in the world, was hanging by a thread. His bosses were ready to fire him the moment his personal scandals became public knowledge. She called Patricia immediately. Interesting, Patricia said after Natalie filled her in. Very interesting. This changes our timeline significantly. How so? If Ryan's about to lose his job, he's going to be much more motivated to settle quickly and quietly. No one wants to be unemployed and going through an expensive divorce at the same time. So what do? We accelerate our timeline. I'm going to call his attorney first thing Monday morning and present our evidence. All of it. The affairs, the financial misconduct, the evidence of professional impropriety. Then I'm going to give him 48 hours to respond with a settlement offer. And if he doesn't? Then we file every motion I mentioned, we schedule every deposition, and we make this as public and as messy as possible. By the time we're done, Ryan won't have a job, a reputation, or a penny to his name. For the first time since finding those text messages, Natalie felt genuinely excited about her future. Ryan had thought he could manipulate and control her, just like he had controlled and manipulated every other woman in his life. He was about to learn that he had picked the wrong woman to mess with. The art gallery where Natalie worked had always been her sanctuary, but returning after 3 weeks of personal leave felt surreal. The familiar smell of paint and varnish, the soft lighting that made every piece look like a masterpiece, the quiet conversations of visitors discovering new artists, it all felt like coming home. "Welcome back," said Marcus, the gallery director, as Natalie hung up her coat in the office. "How are you feeling?" "Better," Natalie said, and she meant it. "Ready to get back to work." "Good, because we have the Henderson exhibition opening next week, and I could really use your expertise on the layout." Diving back into work felt therapeutic. Natalie spent the morning reviewing submissions for their upcoming contemporary artists showcase, losing herself in the vibrant colors and bold strokes that represented other people's emotions and experiences. Art had always been her passion, but she had let Ryan's career take precedence over the past few years, working part-time so she could be available for his social functions and networking events. Now she was thinking about going full-time again. Maybe even pursuing the gallery management position that would be opening up when Marcus retired next year. During her lunch break, Natalie's phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. Ryan's attorney called. "They want to schedule a settlement conference for tomorrow. Are you available at 2 p.m.? Natalie typed back quickly, "Yes." "What does this mean?" "It means they're ready to negotiate. The pressure is working." That afternoon, a new face appeared in the gallery, a tall man with kind eyes and an easy smile, studying a particularly complex abstract painting with genuine interest. "That's one of my favorites," Natalie said, approaching him. "It's by a local artist named Carmen Rodriguez. She calls it Emergence." "I can see why," the man said. "There's something about the way the darker colors give way to the brighter ones. Like hope breaking through despair." "Exactly. Carmen painted this after going through her own difficult period. A divorce, actually." The man turned to look at Natalie and she felt her cheeks flush. Why had she shared that personal detail? "Art is therapy," he said thoughtfully. "I can relate to that. I'm David, by the way." "Natalie, are you an artist yourself?" "Architect, actually. But I appreciate good art. I'm working on a project downtown, renovating the old Hartley building into loft spaces. I was hoping to find some local pieces for the lobby." They spent the next hour discussing different artists and styles, and Natalie found herself genuinely enjoying the conversation. David was intelligent and funny, with a dry sense of humor that made her laugh more than she had in months. "Would you be interested in having coffee sometime?" David asked as he was leaving. "I'd love to continue our conversation about local artists. Maybe you could give me some more recommendations for the project." Natalie hesitated. "I should probably mention that I'm going through a divorce right now. It's complicated." "Complicated how?" "My husband cheated on me and we're in the middle of fairly messy proceedings. I'm not really in a place to be dating anyone." David nodded, understanding. "I appreciate your honesty. But I was really just talking about coffee and art recommendations. No pressure, no expectations. Just two people who share an interest in supporting local artists." Something about his straightforward approach appealed to Natalie. "Coffee sounds nice. But just coffee." "Just coffee," David agreed, smiling. They made plans to meet at a coffee shop near the gallery on Saturday morning. As David left, Natalie realized she felt lighter than she had in weeks. Not because of romantic interest. She truly wasn't ready for that. But because she had just had a normal, pleasant conversation with someone who didn't know anything about her personal drama. Someone who saw her as Natalie the art curator, not Natalie the cheated-on wife. The next afternoon, Natalie sat in Patricia's conference room across from Ryan and his attorney, a nervous-looking man named Stephen Parks. Ryan looked terrible. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his suit was wrinkled, and there were dark circles under his eyes. "Thank you all for coming," Patricia said, opening a thick folder. "Let's get straight to business. My client is prepared to settle this matter quickly and quietly, provided the terms are fair and reasonable." "What are you looking for?" Stephen asked. "Full ownership of the marital home for Mrs. Coleman. Division of all other assets according to Indiana law, with adjustments for the approximately $47,000 in marital funds that Mr. Coleman spent on extramarital relationships." Ryan's face went white. $47,000? That's not accurate. Patricia slid a stack of papers across the table. Hotel bills, restaurant charges, jewelry purchases, weekend trips, all documented and verified. Would you like to dispute any specific charges? Stephen reviewed the papers while Ryan slumped in his chair. We'll also need Mr. Coleman to cover all legal fees and court costs, Patricia continued. And Mrs. Coleman will retain full ownership of her pension and retirement accounts. What about spousal support? Stephen asked weakly. Given Mr. Coleman's current employment situation, I don't think spousal support is going to be a viable option, Patricia said smoothly. Ryan's head snapped up. What employment situation? I'm a partner at Morrison, Burke & Associates. Patricia smiled coldly. Are you? Because I had a very interesting conversation with James Morrison yesterday afternoon. Perhaps you should check your email. Ryan fumbled for his phone with shaking hands. His face went from pale to gray as he read whatever message he had received. They can't do this, he whispered. I bring in millions of dollars in revenue for that firm. They can and they have, Patricia said. Effective immediately, pending the outcome of the sexual harassment investigation that 3 of your former colleagues have requested. Stephen looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. Can we have a moment to confer with our client? Of course. Take all the time you need. Patricia and Natalie stepped out into the hallway, leaving Ryan and his attorney to discuss their rapidly shrinking options. Sexual harassment investigation? Natalie asked. The 3 women who filed complaints decided to make them formal after learning about your situation. Apparently, seeing how he treated his own wife gave them the courage to speak up about how he treated them. So he's really going to lose his job? He already has. The question now is whether he's going to face criminal charges for misusing company resources to fund his affairs. When they returned to the conference room, Ryan looked defeated. Stephen cleared his throat. My client is prepared to accept your terms with one modification. He'd like to keep his personal belongings in his car. That's acceptable, Patricia said. We'll have the papers drawn up by Monday. There's one more thing, Stephen said hesitantly. Mr. Coleman would like to speak to his wife privately for a moment. Absolutely not, Patricia said before Natalie could respond. All communication goes through counsel. Please, Ryan said, speaking directly to Natalie for the first time. Just 5 minutes? I need to say something to you. Natalie looked at Patricia, who shook her head firmly. It's not advisable. 5 minutes, Natalie said. In here with you present. Patricia sighed but nodded. Stephen gathered his papers and stepped out, leaving the 3 of them alone. Ryan turned to face Natalie fully. I know you probably hate me right now. I don't hate you, Ryan. I feel sorry for you. Sorry for me? You threw away everything good in your life for what? A few meaningless flings? You lost your wife, your job, your reputation, your future. For what? Ryan's eyes filled with tears. I don't know. I don't know why I did any of it. I love you, Nat. I really do love you. No, you don't. You love the idea of having someone who will put up with your behavior without consequences. That's not love, that's convenience. I can change. I know I can. I'll go to therapy, I'll do whatever it takes. You should go to therapy, Ryan. But you should do it for yourself, not to try to win me back. Because that's never going to happen. Never? Natalie looked at him, really looked at him, and felt nothing but pity. This man who had once made her heart race, who had made her believe in fairy tale endings, now just looked pathetic and small. Never. I deserve better than you can give me. I always did. I know that now. I know I don't deserve you. You're right. You don't. Natalie stood up. Sign the papers, Ryan. Accept responsibility for what you've done, and try to rebuild your life into something you can be proud of. But do it without me. As they left the building, Patricia put a hand on Natalie's shoulder. How do you feel? Free, Natalie said without hesitation. For the first time in 3 years, I feel completely free. That Saturday, Natalie met David at the coffee shop as planned. She had been nervous about it, worried that she wasn't ready for any kind of social interaction with an attractive man. But as they talked about art and architecture, about the city's growing cultural scene and their shared love of supporting local artists, she realized that this wasn't about romance or rebound relationships. This was about remembering who she was outside of her marriage. About rediscovering the parts of herself that had nothing to do with Ryan or his betrayal. I have to ask, David said as they walked through the downtown arts district after coffee. How are you handling everything with your divorce? You seem remarkably together for someone going through such a difficult time. I'm stronger than I thought I was, Natalie said. It turns out that when someone shows you who they really are, you have a choice. You can make excuses for them, or you can believe them and act accordingly. And you chose to believe them. I chose to believe that I deserve better. It sounds simple, but it took me a long time to get there. They stopped in front of a small gallery that was showcasing emerging photographers. In the window was a stunning black and white portrait of a woman looking directly at the camera, her expression confident and unafraid. "That's beautiful," Natalie said. "She looks so strong, so sure of herself." "She looks like someone who knows her worth," David agreed. As they parted ways that afternoon, David handed her his business card. "If you ever want to talk about art or architecture or anything else, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just friendship." Natalie tucked the card into her purse, surprised to find that she hoped she would use it someday. Not because she was ready to date, but because David seemed like the kind of person who would be a good friend. The kind of person who saw her as a whole person, not just someone to fix or rescue or complete. Walking back to her car, Natalie caught her reflection in a store window and stopped. The woman looking back at her looked different from the woman who had discovered those text messages a month ago. This woman stood taller, smiled more genuinely, looked the world in the eye without fear. This woman knew her worth. And she wasn't willing to settle for anything less than she deserved ever again. 3 weeks had passed since the settlement conference, and Natalie was beginning to feel like her life was returning to normal. The divorce papers had been signed, the house was officially hers, and Ryan had moved out of state, supposedly to take a job with a small firm in Ohio. She was working full-time at the gallery again, had started taking evening art classes, and was even considering David's invitation to attend a gallery opening next weekend. But on Thursday evening, as she was locking up the gallery after staying late to prepare for an upcoming exhibition, she saw him. Ryan was sitting in his car across the street watching the building. When their eyes met through the window, he started the engine and drove away quickly. But not before Natalie got a clear look at his face, unshaven, hollow-eyed, desperate. Her hands shaking, she called Patricia immediately. "Are you sure it was him?" Patricia asked. "Positive." He was parked directly across from the gallery watching the entrance. "When he saw me notice him, he drove off." "Did he approach you or try to communicate?" "No, but Patricia, he's supposed to be in Ohio. What is he doing here?" "I don't know, but I don't like it. I want you to start documenting every time you see him or suspect he's been following you. Take photos if you can, note the time and location. And consider varying your routine for a while." "You think he's dangerous?" "I think he's desperate, and desperate people do unpredictable things. Men who lose everything sometimes blame their ex-wives for their problems instead of taking responsibility for their own actions." The next morning, Natalie arrived at work to find her assistant, Emma, looking concerned. "Someone called asking about your schedule yesterday," Emma said. "A man. He said he was your brother and wanted to surprise you for lunch, but something felt off about it." "What did you tell him?" "Nothing. I told him I couldn't give out personal information about employees." "But Natalie, you don't have a brother, do you?" "No, I don't." "What did he sound like?" "Professional, educated, but pushy. When I wouldn't tell him your schedule, he got a little aggressive about it." Natalie's blood ran cold. "If anyone calls asking about me again, don't give them any information and let me know immediately." That afternoon, she noticed a familiar car parked outside the coffee shop where she usually grabbed lunch. She couldn't see the driver clearly, but the license plate was Ryan's. Instead of going in, she walked to a different restaurant 3 blocks away, looking over her shoulder the entire time. When she got home that evening, she found a bouquet of white roses on her doorstep, the same flowers Ryan had brought to their confrontation weeks ago. There was no note, but she didn't need one to know who had left them. She took photos of the flowers before throwing them in the garbage and called Patricia again. "He's escalating," Patricia said grimly. "First watching your workplace, then trying to get information about your schedule, now leaving gifts at your house. This is classic stalking behavior. What should I do?" "Document everything, but also take practical precautions. Install motion sensor lights around your house, consider getting a security camera for your front door, and think about staying with a friend for a few days. I'm not letting him scare me out of my own home." "Natalie, I understand that impulse, but your safety is more important than making a point. Men who feel like they've lost control over their ex-wives sometimes try to regain that control through intimidation and fear." That night, Natalie barely slept. Every sound made her jump. The settling of the house, the neighbor's cat walking across her roof, the wind rustling the trees outside her bedroom window. She kept her phone next to her bed and checked the locks on her doors twice before finally drifting off around 3 a.m. She woke up to find her car windows covered in what looked like love letters. Dozens of pieces of paper taped to the windshield, side windows, and rear window. Her hands shaking, she pulled one off and read it. My dearest Natalie, I know you think I'm a terrible person, but I need you to understand that everything I did was because I was scared of how much I loved you. I sabotaged our marriage because I didn't think I deserved happiness, but I realize now that you are my happiness. Without you, I have nothing. Please give me one more chance to prove that I can be the man you fell in love with. All my love forever, Ryan. The note was handwritten in Ryan's familiar script, but the handwriting was shakier than usual, more erratic. Some of the words were pressed so hard into the paper that they had torn through. There were at least 30 similar notes covering her car. Natalie took photos of everything before carefully removing each piece of paper and putting them in a bag as evidence. At work, she called Patricia and then the police to file a formal stalking report. Has the subject made any direct threats? The officer asked as he took her statement. Not exactly threats, but he's following me, trying to get information about my schedule, leaving unwanted gifts, and now this. She showed him the photos of her car. The notes don't contain explicit threats of violence, but the behavior pattern is concerning. We'll increase patrols in your neighborhood and around your workplace. In the meantime, I'd recommend applying for a restraining order. How long does that take? You can file today and there's usually a hearing within a week. In the meantime, we'll issue a no-contact order that goes into effect immediately. That afternoon, Patricia helped Natalie file for a restraining order, presenting all the evidence they had collected, the photos, the notes, the documented incidents of stalking and harassment. The good news is that Ryan's behavior is so clearly inappropriate that getting the restraining order should be straightforward, Patricia explained. The bad news is that restraining orders are just pieces of paper. They don't physically prevent someone from violating them. So what's the point? If he violates the order, he can be arrested immediately. It gives law enforcement more tools to protect you. Walking to her car after leaving the courthouse, Natalie felt eyes on her. She turned around and saw Ryan standing across the street, not even trying to hide. He was wearing the same clothes he'd had on the day before, and his hair looked like he hadn't combed it in days. When he saw her looking at him, he raised his hand in a small wave, like they were old friends running into each other by chance. Natalie pulled out her phone and took a photo of him, then called 911. This is Natalie Coleman. I filed a stalking report this morning, and the subject is currently following me. I'm at the intersection of 5th and Main Street downtown. We'll have a unit there in 5 minutes. Are you in immediate danger? I don't know. He's just standing there watching me, but he's not supposed to be anywhere near me. By the time the police arrived, Ryan was gone. But Natalie's photo clearly showed him violating the no-contact order, and the officers assured her that they would issue a warrant for his arrest. That evening, Lauren came over to stay the night. I can't believe he's doing this, Lauren said as they sat in Natalie's living room with all the curtains drawn. What does he think he's going to accomplish? I think he's having some kind of breakdown, Natalie said. Losing his job, losing me, having everyone know what he did. I think it broke something in his brain. That doesn't make it okay. No, it doesn't. But it explains why he's acting so irrationally. The Ryan I married would never have done something this stupid and desperate. The Ryan you married was cheating on you with multiple women, Lauren pointed out. Maybe this is who he really was all along, and you're just seeing it now that he doesn't have anything left to lose. As they were getting ready for bed, Natalie's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I saw the police today. You called them on me again. Why are you trying so hard to hurt me? All I want is to talk to you to explain how sorry I am. Why won't you give me that chance? I'm staying at the motel on Highway 6 if you change your mind. Room 147. I'll wait for you as long as it takes. Natalie screenshot the message and forwarded it to Patricia, then blocked the number. But 5 minutes later, another text came from a different number. I know you're reading these. I know you still care about me. Remember our first date? Remember how happy we were? We can have that again if you just give me a chance. She blocked that number too, but her phone kept buzzing throughout the night with messages from new numbers. All of them were from Ryan, all of them increasingly desperate and incoherent. By morning, she had received over 50 messages and blocked a dozen different phone numbers. He's completely lost it, Lauren said, scrolling through the screenshots Natalie had taken. These messages don't even make sense. He's talking about conversations you never had, places you never went together. He's rewriting our entire relationship in his head, Natalie said tiredly, making it into some great love story instead of the mess it actually was. This is getting scary, Nat. Maybe you should think about staying somewhere else for a while. No. I'm not letting him drive me out of my home and my life. This is my house, my job, my city. If anyone should leave, it's him. But as Natalie got ready for work that morning, she couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to get much worse before they got better. Ryan was spiraling out of control, and she had no idea how far he might fall, or what he might do to drag her down with him. The restraining order hearing was scheduled for Tuesday morning, and Natalie arrived at the courthouse with Patricia and a thick folder of evidence. Over the past week, Ryan's behavior had escalated dramatically. He had shown up at her workplace 3 more times, left gifts on her doorstep every night, and sent over 200 text messages from various phone numbers. Your Honor, Patricia addressed the judge, my client is being systematically stalked and harassed by her ex-husband. Despite a no-contact order issued last week, the respondent has continued to follow her, contact her, and appear at her home and workplace. She presented the evidence methodically: photos of Ryan lurking outside the gallery, screenshots of his increasingly unhinged text messages, witness statements from Natalie's co-workers who had seen him watching the building. The respondent appears to be having some kind of psychological break, Patricia continued. His messages have become increasingly divorced from reality. He references conversations that never happened, promises to change behavior that he continues to exhibit, and refuses to accept that their marriage is over. Judge Martinez reviewed the evidence with a grim expression. Where is the respondent today? Was he properly served? He was served, Your Honor, but he failed to appear. We believe he may still be staying at the Crossroads Motel on Highway 6. Based on the evidence presented, I'm granting a full restraining order. The respondent is prohibited from coming within 500 feet of the petitioner, her home, her workplace, or any location where she is present. He is prohibited from all forms of contact, including phone calls, text messages, emails, social media, and third-party communication. Judge Martinez looked directly at Natalie. Mrs. Coleman, this order will be in effect for 1 year, but it can be renewed if necessary. If the respondent violates this order in any way, call 911 immediately. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. I'm also ordering the respondent to surrender any firearms he may possess and to undergo a psychological evaluation before any modification of this order can be considered. As they left the courthouse, Natalie felt a mixture of relief and lingering anxiety. The restraining order was a powerful legal tool, but as Patricia had warned, it was still just a piece of paper. How long before the police serve him with the order? Natalie asked. They'll try to find him today. Once he's been officially served, any violation can result in immediate arrest. They were walking to their cars when Natalie's phone rang. It was Emma from the gallery. Natalie, you need to know, that man is here again. He's been pacing back and forth in front of the building for the past hour, and he looks really agitated. Is he trying to come inside? No, but he keeps staring at the door like he's waiting for something. A few customers have commented on it. It's making everyone uncomfortable. I'm on my way. Call the police and tell them there's a restraining order violation in progress. Don't go there, Patricia said immediately. Let the police handle it. I can't let him terrorize my workplace. My employees and customers shouldn't have to deal with this because of my personal problems. Natalie, if he's having a psychological break, confronting him could be dangerous. I'm not going to confront him. I'm going to wait for the police and make sure he gets arrested. Against Patricia's advice, Natalie drove to the gallery. She parked a block away and called Emma. Is he still there? Yes, and the police just arrived. 2 cars. Natalie watched from her car as officers approached Ryan. Even from a distance, she could see that he looked terrible. His clothes were rumpled like he had slept in them, his hair was unkempt, and he was gesticulating wildly as he talked to the officers. The conversation seemed to go on forever. At one point, Ryan pointed directly at Natalie's car, and she realized he had spotted her. He started walking in her direction, but the officers quickly stopped him and guided him toward their patrol car. As Ryan was being placed in handcuffs, he began shouting loud enough for Natalie to hear him even from a block away. Natalie, I know you're watching. I love you. I just want to talk to you. Why won't you let me explain? The officers put him in the back of the patrol car, and Natalie felt her whole body sag with relief. It was over. Finally, it was over. But as the police car drove away, her phone buzzed with a text from yet another unknown number. They can't keep me away from you forever. I'll find a way. Love always wins. She screenshot the message and forwarded it to Patricia, then drove to the police station to file an additional report about the continued harassment. The good news is that violating a restraining order is a serious crime. the officer told her as she filled out paperwork. He'll be held for at least 72 hours, possibly longer if the judge decides he's a danger to himself or others. What happens after 72 hours? Depends on a lot of factors. His mental state, whether he has a history of violence, whether he continues to make threats. But the restraining order violation will stay on his record, and any future violations will result in more serious charges. That evening, Natalie sat in her living room with Lauren, finally allowing herself to believe that the nightmare might be coming to an end. "Do you think that's it?" Lauren asked. "Do you think being arrested will snap him out of whatever this is?" "I don't know. I hope so. But even if it doesn't, at least now the police and the courts are taking it seriously. He can't just keep following me around without consequences." "How are you feeling about everything?" "Really?" Natalie thought about the question. "Tired, angry, but also proud of myself, I guess." "Proud?" 6 months ago, if someone had told me Ryan was going to cheat on me and then stalk me when I left him, I would have thought there was no way I could handle something like that. I would have been terrified and helpless. And now I know I'm stronger than I ever imagined. I documented everything, I got legal help, I involved law enforcement, I didn't let him intimidate me into backing down. I fought back. You did more than fight back. You won. Natalie's phone rang, interrupting their conversation. It was Patricia. "I just got a call from Ryan's attorney," Patricia said. "Ryan has been placed on a 72-hour psychiatric hold. He was making threats of self-harm during his booking." "Is he okay?" "Physically, yes. Mentally, that's for the doctors to determine. But this might actually be the best thing that could have happened." "How so?" "If he's found to be mentally unstable, the court can order him to undergo treatment as a condition of his release. It gives us more leverage to keep him away from you long-term. And if he's found to be stable? Then he goes to jail for violating the restraining order. Either way, you're protected." After hanging up, Natalie realized she felt something she hadn't experienced in months. Peace. Not just the absence of fear, but actual peace. The knowledge that she had faced the worst thing she could imagine, betrayal, harassment, stalking, and she had not only survived it, she had triumphed. "You know what's funny?" she said to Lauren. "A year ago, I thought my biggest fear was being alone. I was so afraid that Ryan would leave me that I overlooked all the signs that he was already gone. And now I realize that being alone isn't scary at all. Being with the wrong person is scary. Being in a relationship with someone who doesn't respect you, doesn't value you, doesn't tell you the truth, that's terrifying." "So what's next for you?" Natalie smiled, and for the first time in months, it was a smile of genuine happiness rather than just relief. "Next, I focus on my life. My career, my friendships, my interests. I'm going to that gallery opening with David this weekend. Not as a date, but as a friend. I'm going to apply for the gallery management position. I'm going to take that art class I've been thinking about. I'm going to remember who I was before Ryan, and then I'm going to become someone even better. And if you meet someone new someday? Someday maybe. But if I do, it will be someone who adds to my life instead of taking from it. Someone who sees my worth instead of making me question it. Someone who chooses me every day, not just when it's convenient." As Lauren prepared to leave, she hugged Natalie tightly. "I'm so proud of you. The way you handled all of this, you're like a completely different person than you were 6 months ago." "I'm not different," Natalie said. "I'm just finally being myself. The real me, not the version I thought Ryan wanted me to be." After Lauren left, Natalie walked through her house, really seeing it for the first time in months. Without Ryan's presence, without the constant tension and walking on eggshells, it felt like home again. It felt like hers. She poured herself a glass of wine and sat on her back porch, looking up at the stars. 6 months ago, she had been planning her future around a man who had never truly wanted her. Now she was planning her future around herself, her dreams, her goals. It wasn't the future she had imagined when she walked down the aisle in her white dress, full of hope and love and trust. But it was a future she was genuinely excited about, a future where she was the main character of her own story instead of a supporting player in someone else's. Ryan had thought he could break her, could make her so afraid and desperate that she would take him back just to make the harassment stop. But all he had done was reveal her own strength to her. She was done being a victim. From now on, she was going to be the hero of her own life. 6 months had passed since Ryan's arrest, and Natalie's life had transformed completely. She had been promoted to gallery manager, her art classes had led to her first solo exhibition, and she had developed a strong friendship with David that was slowly, carefully, beginning to feel like something more. Ryan had been sentenced to 6 months in county jail for stalking and violating the restraining order, followed by 2 years of probation and mandatory therapy. He had been released 2 weeks ago, and Natalie had been informed that he was living in a halfway house 3 hours away and working at a small accounting firm. She was reviewing applications for the gallery's summer internship program when her phone rang. The caller ID showed Rebecca's name. "Hi Natalie, I hope I'm not bothering you." "Not at all. How are you?" "I'm good actually. Really good. I wanted to call because I have some news about Ryan that I thought you should know." Natalie's stomach tightened. "What kind of news?" "He contacted me last week. He's apparently living in Springfield now, and he wanted to meet for coffee to apologize for the pain he caused me." "Did you meet with him?" "I did, but not for the reason he thought. I wanted to see if he had actually changed or if he was still the same manipulative person he always was." "And?" "He's worse. He spent 2 hours telling me how his arrest and jail time were all your fault. How you overreacted to his mistakes and destroyed his life out of spite. He wanted me to help him figure out a way to contact you without violating his probation." Natalie felt a familiar chill. "What did you tell him?" "I told him exactly what I thought of him. But Natalie, there's something else. He's not just angry at you, he's obsessed. He has photos of you that he's obviously taken recently. Photos of you at work, at the coffee shop, walking downtown. That's impossible. He's been in jail for 6 months and he's supposed to be living 3 hours away. I think he's been having someone else take them. Maybe a friend, maybe someone he hired. But these weren't old photos from when you were married. You were wearing clothes I saw you post on Instagram just last month." Natalie's blood ran cold. "Are you sure?" "Positive. And when I confronted him about it, he got defensive and said he had a right to know how you were doing. He said you were his wife, and that some judge's piece of paper couldn't change that. We're divorced. We've been divorced for months. I know that and you know that, but I don't think Ryan accepts it. I think he's been planning something, waiting for his probation to be over so he can make his move." After hanging up with Rebecca, Natalie immediately called Patricia, who advised her to contact Ryan's probation officer and file a report about the suspected surveillance. Even if he's not personally taking the photos, having someone else do it on his behalf would be a violation of his restraining order, Patricia explained. And if we can prove he's been planning to violate his probation, the court can revoke it and send him back to jail. But Natalie was tired of being reactive, tired of always being one step behind Ryan's schemes. As she sat in her office at the gallery that afternoon, staring at the wall where her own artwork was displayed, bold, confident pieces that reflected the woman she had become, she realized she was done playing defense. It was time to go on the offensive. She called Rebecca back. "I have an idea, but I'm going to need your help." "What kind of idea?" "The kind that will make sure Ryan never bothers either of us again." They met that evening at a restaurant halfway between their cities. Natalie had spent the afternoon researching and planning, and she was ready to present her proposal. "Ryan's weakness has always been his ego and his career," Natalie began. "Even when he lost his job at Morrison, Burke and Associates, he still thought of himself as this successful, charming lawyer that women couldn't resist. Okay. So we're going to use that against him. We're going to make him think he can manipulate his way back into our lives, and then we're going to destroy him completely." Natalie pulled out her phone and showed Rebecca a series of screenshots. "I've been researching his new employer, Hartley & Sons Accounting. It's a small, family-owned firm that prides itself on integrity and family values. The kind of place that would be very interested to know if one of their employees was a convicted stalker with a history of sexual harassment." "You want to get him fired again?" "I want to do more than that. I want to make sure he can never hurt another woman the way he hurt us." Natalie opened a folder and spread out her plan. "Here's what we're going to do. You're going to contact Ryan and tell him you've been thinking about what he said. That you've realized you still have feelings for him, but you're worried about his legal situation. He'll be suspicious. Maybe at first. But his ego won't let him believe that you're really over him. He'll convince himself that you're just being cautious. And then what? Then you're going to suggest meeting somewhere public to talk. But you're going to wear a wire, and you're going to get him to admit to everything. The surveillance, his plans to contact me after his probation ends, his belief that our divorce isn't real. That's entrapment." "No, it's not. Entrapment is when law enforcement tricks someone into committing a crime they wouldn't have otherwise committed. This is just giving Ryan the opportunity to reveal his true intentions." Rebecca looked skeptical. "What if he doesn't say anything incriminating?" "He will. Ryan can't help himself when he thinks he's in control. He'll brag about how clever he's been, how he's figured out ways around the legal system. He always does. And then what do we do with the recording? We send copies to his probation officer, his employer, the State Bar Association, and every woman he's ever worked with or dated. We make sure that everyone knows exactly who Ryan Coleman really is. That seems extreme. Is it? How many women has he hurt, Rebecca? How many more women will he hurt if we don't stop him? You said yourself that he hasn't changed, he's gotten worse. Rebecca was quiet for a long moment. What if this backfires? What if it makes him more dangerous? Then at least we'll have evidence of his intentions, and the authorities can act before he hurts someone. Right now, he's flying under the radar, but he's still the same person who stalked me for weeks and who's apparently been having me surveilled for months. When would we do this? Next weekend. You contact him tomorrow, tell him you've been thinking about him. Suggest meeting for coffee on Saturday afternoon. I'll be nearby with backup recording equipment, just in case. Rebecca agreed to the plan, though Natalie could see she was nervous about it. But they both knew that Ryan wouldn't stop on his own. He was like a cancer that had to be cut out completely, or it would just keep spreading. The next week, Rebecca played her part perfectly. She contacted Ryan with just the right mix of hesitation and interest, telling him that their conversation had made her realize she might have been too quick to dismiss the possibility of reconciliation. Ryan, predictably, jumped at the opportunity. Within hours, he was texting Rebecca paragraphs about how he knew she still loved him, how they were meant to be together, how Natalie had been a mistake he had made out of loneliness. They arranged to meet at a coffee shop in Springfield on Saturday afternoon. Rebecca wore a small recording device hidden in her jacket, while Natalie sat in a car across the street with additional equipment and a direct line to Rebecca's phone. The conversation started innocuously enough, with Ryan apologizing for his past behavior and promising he had changed. But as Rebecca gently probed, asking about his life since his release, his real intentions began to emerge. I've been thinking about Natalie a lot, Ryan admitted. I know I'm not supposed to contact her, but the restraining order expires next year. I think by then she'll have had time to get over her anger and remember the good times we had. Do you really think she'll take you back? I know she will. She loves me, she always has. She was just hurt and overreacted to everything. Women do that sometimes, they get emotional and make decisions they regret later. But what about the restraining order? The stalking charges? Ryan's voice got harder. That was all blown out of proportion. I never threatened her. I just wanted to talk to her to explain my side of things. But she had her lawyer poison her mind against me. How do you know she hasn't moved on? It's been almost a year. Because I've been keeping an eye on her. Ryan's voice was matter-of-fact, as if surveillance was the most natural thing in the world. She's not seeing anyone seriously. There's some guy she hangs out with, but it's nothing romantic. I can tell. Rebecca's voice remained steady, but Natalie could hear the slight tremor in it. How can you tell? I thought you weren't allowed to contact her. I'm not, but that doesn't mean I can't know what's going on in her life. I have friends who live in her area. They keep me informed. Friends? Well, I hired someone actually. A private investigator. It's perfectly legal as long as I don't make direct contact with her. Natalie gripped the steering wheel tighter. This was exactly what they needed. Isn't that expensive? Rebecca asked. Worth every penny. I need to know if she's moved on, if she's happy, if she's dating anyone seriously. When the restraining order expires, I need to know the best way to approach her. And what will you do then? I'll win her back. I'll show her that I've changed, that I'm the man she fell in love with. All this legal drama will be behind us and we can start fresh. What if she doesn't want to start fresh? Ryan's laugh was cold. She will. Natalie needs someone to take care of her, someone to make decisions for her. She's probably struggling without me. I bet she regrets everything, the divorce, the restraining order, all of it. But what if she's really moved on? What if she's actually happy without you? Then I'll have to make her remember what she's missing. There was something dark in Ryan's voice now. Natalie belongs with me. We're married in the eyes of God no matter what some judge says. That divorce was just paperwork. It doesn't mean anything. Ryan, you sound a little obsessed. I prefer the word dedicated. I made vows to that woman and I intend to keep them. For better or worse, in sickness and in health, until death do us part. She can't just throw that away because of a few mistakes I made. A few mistakes? Okay, maybe more than a few. But I was confused back then, scared of commitment. Now I know what I want. I want my wife back and I'm going to get her back. The conversation continued for another hour, with Ryan revealing more and more of his delusional thinking. He admitted to having Natalie followed for months, to planning his reconciliation approach for when his legal restrictions ended, and to believing that their divorce was invalid because it wasn't based on real problems. Most damaging of all, he admitted to violating the terms of his probation by having contact with people in Natalie's city and by paying someone to conduct surveillance on her. When Rebecca finally left the coffee shop, she was shaking. She got in her car and called Natalie immediately. "Did you get all of that?" she asked. "Every word. Rebecca, you were amazing. You got him to admit to everything. He's completely delusional. He really believes you're going to take him back. And now we have proof of exactly how delusional he is, and exactly how dangerous he still is." That evening, Natalie and Rebecca compiled everything they had: the recording, the photos Ryan had shown Rebecca, copies of his text messages to her, and documentation of his probation violations. They sent copies to Ryan's probation officer, the district attorney's office, Hartley and Sons Accounting, with a detailed explanation of their employees' criminal history and ongoing violations, the State Bar Association, to ensure Ryan could never practice law again, 3 local news outlets, because public exposure was sometimes the best deterrent. But Natalie had one more surprise planned. She had spent the past month working with a web developer to create a comprehensive website called The Truth About Ryan Coleman. The site contained court documents, police reports, testimony from his victims, and detailed timelines of his abusive behavior patterns. The site was designed to be the first thing that appeared when anyone searched for Ryan's name. Future employers, potential romantic partners, and anyone else who encountered him would know exactly who they were dealing with. "Is this legal?" Rebecca asked when Natalie showed her the site. "Completely. Everything on here is either public record or documented fact. I'm not making any false statements or unsubstantiated claims. I'm just making sure the truth is easily accessible. It's brilliant and terrifying. It's justice." Within 48 hours, the consequences began rolling in. Ryan's probation was revoked, and he was arrested for violating the terms of his release. Hartley and Sons fired him immediately upon learning about his criminal history and ongoing violations. The State Bar opened an investigation that would prevent him from ever practicing law again. Most importantly, the local news picked up the story, running a series about domestic abuse and stalking that featured Ryan as a cautionary tale. His photo and full name were broadcast throughout the region, making it impossible for him to hide his past from future employers or romantic partners. Natalie's phone rang constantly for days, reporters wanting interviews, other women coming forward with their own stories about Ryan, legal experts praising her documentation and advocacy. But the call that meant the most came from Ryan's probation officer. "Miss Coleman, I wanted to let you know that Mr. Coleman has been sentenced to an additional 2 years in prison for violating his probation. With the new evidence you provided, the judge determined that he poses an ongoing threat to public safety. 2 years. And when he's released, he'll be required to register as a sex offender due to the pattern of stalking and harassment. He'll also be prohibited from using the internet or social media without supervision." "What about the surveillance?" "The private investigator he hired. We've identified the individual and charged him with conspiracy to stalk. Mr. Coleman's pattern of behavior made it clear that this was an ongoing criminal enterprise, not just poor judgment." After hanging up, Natalie sat in her office at the gallery, surrounded by her art and looking out at the city where she had rebuilt her life. 2 years ago, she had been a naive woman who thought love meant accepting whatever treatment she received. Now she was a force to be reckoned with, someone who didn't just stand up for herself but for every woman who might encounter a predator like Ryan. Her phone buzzed with a text from David. "Saw the news story. I'm proud of you for standing up not just for yourself, but for other women who might not have had your strength. Dinner tonight to celebrate justice being served." Natalie smiled as she typed back, "Yes, but let's make it a real date this time. I think I'm ready for that." She had spent the past year learning who she was outside of her relationship with Ryan, discovering her own strength and worth. Now she was ready to share that strong, confident woman with someone who deserved her. As she prepared to leave work that day, Natalie caught her reflection in the gallery window. The woman looking back at her was powerful, confident, and unafraid. She had faced her worst nightmare and emerged victorious. Ryan had thought he could break her, control her, manipulate her into taking him back. Instead, she had broken him completely, legally, professionally, socially, and personally. He would spend years in prison, and when he got out, he would be a registered sex offender with a criminal record that followed him everywhere. Meanwhile, Natalie was thriving. She had a career she loved, friends who supported her, and the beginning of what felt like a real, healthy relationship with someone who valued and respected her. The sweet taste of revenge wasn't just in Ryan's downfall, it was in Natalie's rise. She had transformed from victim to victor, from someone who accepted crumbs to someone who demanded the full meal. And she would never, ever settle for less than she deserved again.